Live, local, now. This is WIS News 10.
Good Sunday morning, and thanks for joining us on this Father's Day. I'm Chad Mills. Let's get straight to it. It is going to feel like an oven across the capital city today. Take a look at those temperatures. Those will be the highs for today, but will that hot weather cool down anytime soon? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. Meteorologist Kevin R. Nunn has that answer. More on that answer. He's in the First Alert Weather Center with more this morning. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Chad. Yeah, it's not going to cool down anytime soon. We're going to be talking about these temperatures sticking around the Midlands really right through the First Alert 7-day forecast. And in fact, we have alert days up for Monday through Thursday. Why, you ask? 105 to 108. That's what it's going to feel like when you do step outside. Now, today will not be that hot, but it's still going to be pretty warm. We're talking temperatures, actual temperatures in the mid-90s with heat index values around 100 degrees, but it will not be that 105 to 108. But listen, when you get above 100 degrees, I think it all feels the same. Satellite radar view right now, we can see plenty of sunshine out there, a few passing clouds from time to time, and that's really going to be the story as we go through the day today. I don't think we're going to see as much sunshine as what we saw yesterday, which is good news for us because that will help to not make any of those thunderstorms later on that do fire up because of the high humidity be as severe. We did have a few warnings yesterday evening. I'm not thinking we're going to see that as we go through the day today. Current temperatures out there right now are mostly in the 80s. It's 84 in Lexington, 84 Columbia right now, 84 as well as in North. Holding on to some 70s, 79 Saluda, 79 as well as in Orangeburg. But it feels much warmer. Look at what it feels like when you do step outside. And we're talking upper 80s to low 90s. 90 in Lexington, 94 in North. It feels like around 88 degrees downtown Columbia. What it's going to feel like this afternoon, here's your forecast heat index by, let's say, 4 o'clock, 102 degrees. Chad, it's going to be hot later on today. Wait till you see the First Alert 7-day forecast. It only gets worse. Over to you.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Kevin. 3 years ago today, a peaceful Bible study took an unthinkable turn. That night, 9 innocent worshipers were gunned down inside Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston. That night, a white supremacist tried to spread hate, but failed miserably. This morning, we remember, as we always do, the Emanuel Nine. 3 years later, Alex Giles spoke with the brother of one of the 9 and found out how he plans to remember his fallen sister today.
I used to enjoy going home. Charleston is a beautiful city, but now when I go home, it's a pretty big burden.
Malcolm Graham will spend a few days in Charleston. There will be events honoring the innocent people who lost their lives. Graham admits the city has changed for him since the night his sister was shot and killed along with 8 other people at a Bible study.
Yeah, I used to stay with her, and now I find myself staying in the hotel. And so everything is different.
The former senator says he would have liked to have seen gun laws change after what happened at Emanuel AME. He thinks more could be done to prevent mass shootings.
I look back of all the other things that have happened since my sister and 8 others passed away, and things hadn't really gotten any better.
Graham points to tragedies like the one that took place at a high school in Parkland, Florida. He says it's evidence that tighter gun laws are needed. Next month, students from Marjory Stoneman Douglas will visit the Holy City to meet with the families of those killed in the Mother Emanuel shooting.
Hopefully that their civic engagement will lead them to be active voters and one day run for public office themselves.
While Graham currently doesn't hold office, he says he'll continue to advocate for political change in honor of his sister.
It is for her, for me to be her voice and speak out for her. And do these type of interviews, and not for me, but to make sure that her voice and her legacy remains alive.
The shooter, Dylann Roof of Columbia, was formally sentenced to death on January 11th of last year. He was 21 years old at the time of the shooting. Happening right now, the Mother Emanuel AME is holding a special worship service to remember the 9 parishioners killed and to recognize the 5 survivors as well. Throughout the week, they will also be holding other events to recognize the people who died and the survivors. Back here closer to Columbia, Bethel AME Church in Old Shannon will join other churches across the nation to pause and recognize the 9 victims and survivors. That church located at 819 Woodrow Street. Again, in Old Shannon, if you would like to attend today. Top stories this Sunday morning, at least one person dead, more than a dozen others injured after a shooting at a New Jersey art gallery. The shooting happened just before 3 a.m. Police say 20 people were shot and are being treated for various wounds at local hospitals. 4 of those injured are in critical condition, including a 13-year-old boy. Police say the person who died is a suspected shooter. Another suspected shooter is now in custody. Witnesses describe it as a chaotic scene.
I started taking pictures of the crowd, and I was passing flyers out as people were walking by me, and then all of a sudden, about 10 shots rang out slightly inside the door. It was like pow, 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 pow.
The art gallery was hosting an Art All Night Festival, a 24-hour marathon event to raise money for local artists. Police are still investigating, interviewing witnesses, and working to figure out a motive for that shooting. This morning, a Minnesota police officer and his wife are being remembered after they were killed in a head-on motorcycle crash this weekend. Authorities say 51-year-old Steve Nanny and his wife Susie were traveling on their motorcycle when they collided with a pickup truck. Susie was an associate professor at the University of Minnesota. Officer Nanny was a 10-year veteran of the police force and a school resource officer.
He had a heart of gold. He really was just a kind person who would do anything he could to help people out.
Officials are still investigating to find out what caused that crash there in Minnesota. And the body of a 6-year-old boy was pulled from the Flat Rock River in Columbus, Indiana. He had been missing since Thursday. Authorities say the boy was with family members when he went into the deep water and disappeared. He was not wearing a life jacket at the time. DNR officers say the area where he disappeared is known for having strong currents, and high waters from recent flooding added to that danger. In your White House watch, the president's former campaign chairman Paul Manafort faced his first full day in jail after his bail was revoked by a federal judge for witness tampering. Will President Trump, though, consider a pardon for Manafort? NBC's Kelly O'Donnell has the latest.
Waking up behind bars. A first day without freedom for former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. A federal judge said she had no appetite to lock him up while he awaits trial, but Judge Amy Berman Jackson said she could not turn a blind eye after prosecutors alleged Manafort tried to influence what potential witnesses might testify about his lobbying work with Ukraine. Late Friday, President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, both floated and pulled back talk about presidential pardons.
He is not going to pardon anybody in this investigation, but he is not obviously going to give up his right to pardon if a miscarriage of justice is presented to him.
Earlier, President Trump responded to the jailing of Manafort with tweeted sarcasm, didn't know Manafort was the head of the mob, and tried to distance himself with false information.
He worked for me, for 49 days or something? A very short period of time.
The president is wrong about that. Manafort was in charge of the Trump campaign far longer, 144 days. Manafort, who claims innocence, is accused of a financial conspiracy with money laundering and foreign lobbying. Manafort's lawyers suggested he had contacted former colleagues, not knowing they would be witnesses. But Friday, his wife of 40 years and lawyers left the courthouse without him.
In other news, a trade war seems to be brewing between the United States and China just days after billion-dollar tariffs were announced on both sides. The tariffs were criticized in China's state-run media, which referred to the Trump administration as, quote, rude, unreasonable, selfish, and headstrong. Australia's trade minister also criticized President Trump's announced tariffs on Chinese imports. He said the tariffs and the retaliatory measures announced by China will hurt global trade.
None of this is good for global trade. These moves will provide a further drag on global growth, and that's a net negative.
The Trump administration announced tariffs on $50 billion worth of Chinese goods. China's Commerce Ministry said it would immediately impose penalties on American-made products. Looking ahead to next week, executives with the leading power companies here in the Midlands will have a conversation with the community. It's a town hall meeting that's being held Tuesday at Eastover Park from 6:30 to 8 p.m. It is hosted by Representative Wendy Brawley. Leaders with SCANA, Dominion Energy, and Tri-County Electric will all be there to answer questions and concerns from ratepayers. Again, that meeting is Tuesday at Eastover Park, and it starts at 6:30. Don't want to miss it. Also this week, Fort Jackson is hosting a job fair event focused on veterans in the Midlands. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation has dubbed it Hiring Our Heroes. Numerous businesses and employees will be on hand to help active duty service members, veterans, and military spouses. It is being held Tuesday from 8:30 to 4:30 at Fort Jackson's NCO Club. Well, some very good news in store this morning. Congrats are in order for the WIS Sunrise crew. Last night, as you see there, the team won an Emmy for Best Coverage on Hurricane Irma preparations at the Southeast Emmy Awards in Atlanta. We are so very proud of that team and all of our crew members here at WIS. Caught on camera, two giant landmarks in Jacksonville, Florida are no more. Look at them right there, falling right to the ground. These two 462-foot tall cooling towers at the St. Johns River power plant were imploded at the same time. It took about 10 weeks to rig them with more than 1,500 pounds of dynamite, just the right places, and then with one push of a button, both came crashing down in less than 12 seconds. There's another view of it right there. Well, we've all heard the saying, you break it, you buy it. But some Kansas parents may have to dish out some serious cash for something their child did at a community center. The child started to play, and playtime got a little too touchy when the boy began hugging a statue. That sculpture eventually tipped over and broke into all kinds of pieces. Now the insurance company wants the boy's parents to pay up.
Maybe this is like $800 or something. No, it's $132,000. I'm sorry, we're finished here.
Societal responsibility that you may not interact with it, if it's not designed for interaction.
The $132,000 bill is for negligence. The spokesperson for the city said the sculpture was never meant to be touched. Well, it's the day dads deserve. Father's Day is a moment to celebrate the men in our lives who mean so much to us. So we went out and asked kids, what do you love most about your dad or granddad?
I love my dad because he's smart, funny, and kind.
He's always there for me, and he just loves to be around me, and I love to be around him.
He makes the best pancakes ever.
He loves me as much as I love him.
When he comes, the fun starts to happen.
He's really funny, and he always tells me these jokes that crack me up.
He teaches me things that I never knew before.
I like to garden with my dad. My favorite thing to do with my dad is watch movies.
My favorite thing to do with my dad is play lacrosse.
We cook brownies and cookies.
He does science experiments with me.
I like to watch golf with my grandfather.
We go riding horses.
Nice one that spends time with you.
They care about you, and they always love you.
And tries to make sure you're always happy.
They know how to bring you up when you're down.
He shows you different kind of good things.
A good grandpa is caring and considerate, a lot like a dad.
Happy Father's Day!
That was awesome. We want to wish all the great dads out there a very happy Father's Day as well. But trending right now, a surprise Beyonce and JayZ album. The couple released a joint album called Everything Is Love on JayZ's streaming service. Rumors of the project had been circulating for a little while now. The new album comes as the pair have been touring Europe. They'll be heading back to North America in July with a performance in Columbia at Williams-Brice Stadium on August 21st. And comedian Tiffany Haddish is pulling double work at the MTV Movie Awards. She's hosting the ceremony, which airs tomorrow night. She will also be hoping for a win as a nominee for her role in Girls Trip. Haddish will share the stage with performers and presenters like Nick Jonas, Seth Rogen and Kristen Bell. Well, coming up, we'll have one final check of your first alert forecast when we return. Again, story today is the heat.